Hey, how you doing? All right, I'm playing catch up. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice. I have been sick, so I got some things I want to crank out. Some big news that I want to do in the last couple of days. Hopefully, I get to it, and they're not just some of them might be kind of too late type of things, but that's all right. We're going to dig in anyway. First thing we're going to talk about is something that Sophie Cunningham recently dropped on her podcast with regard to Caitlin Clark and Project B. And I don't think it is any surprise to anyone, but it is definitely something that I want to talk about for a couple of reasons. So let's dig in. We're talking about the opportunities that the female players are having with regard to other leagues now at a time when we've got CBA negotiations and so forth. So take it away, Soph.
Bedroom, kitchen, they got it. It's all in one place.
If your space needs a glow up or just like
And first, we're going to hear the very end of her promo.
a Christmas festive cozy feel, Wayfair has your back.
So head to Wayfair for all of your holiday season needs now.
That's WAYFAIR.com for every style and every home.
Okay, Wayfair, send me some cash because, come on.
In other big news, Project B. Do you want to spill the freaking beans?
So, it's a league. So the W season goes from May to October for people who don't know. And this league will go in our off season. So like there's other things like Unrivaled, AU in Nashville. Then people can go overseas too, but this is a whole new one. And this one offers a lot of money. And that's why people are like moving towards this.
And this is also different than Unrivaled.
Completely different.
So how many like floating leagues are there? 3?
I would
Good
say
question.
that like a lot of the American players are doing, or I would say the majority is 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think there's going to be a lot of people switching over.
That's cool.
So like, here's my thing. So all these leagues are great, but at the end of the day, like if you don't have the W, you don't have the platform.
Right.
So you don't have the eyes, you don't have the recognition.
That's right, Caitlin Clark.
No, yeah.
You have the W.
Yeah. I tried to get her to like play in this one. She's like, no.
I saw Kelsey Mitchell's playing.
Yeah, which I'm super excited about.
Yeah.
Super excited to play with Kels. Or I don't know if I'll play with her, but we'll be in the same league. But so you go to like 7 different markets around the world.
Sick.
You're only there for a certain amount of time, and then you have the rest of the time off. So I could like stay in that market and travel for free pretty
Do
much.
you know the markets?
I do, but I don't know the exact city. So I know there's like 2 in Asia, 2 in Europe, I think 2 in the North and South Americas, and 1 elsewhere.
Dude, that fucking rocks.
I'm excited because I actually miss kind of traveling the world.
Yeah.
I was in France for 7 months. I went to Australia at the beginning of my career.
For these really, really poor WNBA players, it must be nice to just travel the world, Sophie Cunningham. I'm just saying, but it just hit me as I'm listening to this that this is actually style for the WNBA, right? It's a traveling circus. I mean, that's absolutely perfect. But if you did not catch it, obviously you said Caitlin Clark is not going to play in Project B. Now, what is interesting, I thought about as I'm listening to this as well and thinking about what all of this means with regard to the WNBA in regard to Caitlin Clark and all of that is this league is not playing until next year. Okay, this is going to be November of 2026. A lot can happen between now and then. We've got the situation with especially when you're talking about, like you said, if you don't have the W, you don't have the platform. You have the CBA negotiations going on. They're not going well. Now, look, stranger things have happened. I've seen it with other leagues where it just looks like it's terrible, and then last minute, 12 final hour, right before the clock strikes midnight, and everyone turns into a pumpkin and all that stuff. A deal gets done to avoid a work stoppage in some way because a work stoppage is bad for everyone involved. In this case, more so for the players, right? I don't think a work stoppage is really going to crush the owners. I don't think they're going to be too worried about that, but it is really, really bad for the players. Although, and was what adds the drama for some of the players, I think they're okay with a work stoppage because they have equity in other leagues. And you also heard Sophie Cunningham talking about May to October for the WNBA. Again, because of the CBA, that is something that could change. It could go longer. It could start earlier. We talked about that in the video the other day. It sounded like the the WNBA wants to move the start of at least of training camp or a preseason to mid-March, something that would probably overlap the NCAA tournament. Now, what's interesting about that, and again, it makes it unique to the WNBA because people are like, "Oh, well, you've got the overlap, and what about the rookies coming in?" Right? You don't have that with, I mean, the NBA plays during the NCAA tournament as well, but of course, you've got a 10, $11 billion league that's established, and then the players get drafted and they start their season in, well, a lot of them probably play summer league and get prepped, and then I think start in, maybe camp starts in August or September. I think preseason September, October, around there. I forget the exact date. So you're still going right into your season, but you have a little more prep time than you do with the WNBA, which we saw coming out of college, which was a big deal with Caitlin last year. Going right from playing in the final game of the NCAA tournament, the final game of the season, and then jumping right into her WNBA schedule. So moving a season earlier for the WNBA becomes a big problem because of the overlap there, because there is no gap between finishing college and then jumping into the league. So that's going to be interesting. But the big thing about that, and this is the worry and the concern a lot of people have, is, like, I understand Caitlin not playing this at all, and I get it. I've talked about the fact that with her star power and her resources, she can just bring in a lot of people into Indy and play competitive games, right? She can bring in men, women, college players, pro players, whatever she wants, and work on situations and work on competitive basketball, because it's going to be a long time for her, right? She basically didn't play this year. 13 games out of 44, and they were earlier in the season. So she's got a and the off season is long as it is, right? I think we all know that. That's why you can have these other leagues and players go and play in them. So it's going to be a long time before Caitlin has played competitive basketball. So she's going to need, even if it's not in the structure of a league, she's going to need that in some way, shape, or form in the off season in order to be ready for 2026. And then you add in the fact that there's still a possibility 2026 might not happen. Then what? This is a real concern for fans of Caitlin Clark, not only in terms of it derailing Caitlin Clark's career in a way, but also dimming her star a little bit in terms of her stardom. The longer she goes without playing, people have busy lives. They've got lots of things that can entertain them. They've got all these other things they have to do, and they just sort of move on. You form habits, and if you are not doing those things, right? If you're, it's just like anything else we talk about, whether someone's quitting smoking or they're losing weight or whatever. Once you form a habit, it's easy to keep it going, and once you break it, it's easier to keep it broken, so people can get out of the habit of, hey, we got to view Caitlin Clark. That's must-see basketball. So what concerns me specifically for her is, if 2026 in the WNBA doesn't happen, will she have the possibility of changing her mind? Because there's where we get into Project B, right? Because it's next year. Will she do something like Project B or Unrivaled next year if she doesn't have a WNBA season? And is it more likely to be Project B because Unrivaled doesn't start until like January? Boom, start getting into a long time with no Caitlin Clark basketball. But anyway, she's not playing Project B. So, things are up in the air. We'll see how it goes. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for checking out the video. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Go have the day you deserve. I will talk to you later.